Hi class, so today we are going to start with a new unit called DNA, which stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. So in the beginning of the school year, we talked about those 4 biomolecules. In DNA, the N and the A stands for the biomolecule nucleic acid. So let's start with number 1 on your notes. What does every cell contain? Every cell contains genetic material in the form of DNA. So on number 1, the answer is genetic material. You may also, in parentheses, write that is DNA. So for a little refresher, eukaryotic cells, remember eukaryotic cells do have a nucleus. Prokaryotic cells, no, they do not have a nucleus. So in the prokaryotic cells, the DNA is contained within a singular circular chromosome and exposed to the rest of the cell. So because prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus, their DNA is just floating inside of their cells. So therefore, on number 2, is the DNA of a prokaryotic cell inside an organelle? The answer is no. So on number 2, circle no. In eukaryotic cells, the nucleus contains the genetic material of the cell, also in the form of DNA. So eukaryotic cells, and they do have a nucleus, okay? And that's where it holds all of your DNA. It is the brain of the cell. The nucleus controls what happens in the cells, when it happens, how it happens. It is the control center of the cell. So on number 3, where is the DNA found in a eukaryotic cell? And the answer is the nucleus. Number 3, nucleus. So keep in mind, class, that even though prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus, they do have DNA inside their cells. It's just not in a brain called the nucleus. All right, let's move on to number 4. What does DNA stand for? It stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, number 4. And because DNA is a nucleic acid, remember nucleic acids is a long repeating chain of nucleotides. Remember the polymer song. Carbs are made of sugars, we call them saccharides, and nucleic acids are long chains of small nucleotides. So on number 5, what is DNA a repeating chain of? And the answer is nucleotides, number 5. So a quick little refresher, a nucleotide is, remember, made of 3 different parts. So a nucleotide, and let me circle it in the picture on the right. So a nucleotide has 3 parts, remember? So there's the 3 parts. Let me circle. Here, I'll circle another one. 1, 2, 3. So it is made of this little circle. Remember that circle is the phosphate group. It's made of the house, which is the sugar, and then a letter, which is the nitrogen basis. So circle, house, nitrogen basis. Circle, house, letter. Circle, house, letter. Circle, house, letter. Okay? So on the next part of your notes, in that little rectangular box where I put a star next to it, it says every nucleotide in DNA has 3 parts. So let's go back. So part number 1, you're going to write there, is it has a phosphate group, which is labeled number 1 in that picture on the right on your notes. The second part is the sugar, which is the deoxyribose. Now remember, Deoxyribose ends in OSE. Any word ending in OSE, remember, is a sugar. Okay? And then the third part of DNA, or the third part of the nucleotide, is called the nitrogen bases. That's those 4 letters, either A, T, G, or C. So please write that down in that box, and we will move on to number 6. So in this picture, here's the phosphate group. The house is the sugar. And then this little shape on this side, that is the nitrogen bases. So remember, in order to remember what each of these represent, remember this circle right here, if you were to draw a line down, let me redo that. If we draw a line down, looks like the letter P. There's the sugar, and this is the nitrogen base. Alright, so let's talk about those 4 nitrogen bases that are found in DNA. So these 4 letters are very important. It tells you who you are, what you look like, why you look the way you look, and it's coded using only 4 letters, okay? Everyone in this class looks different. Why do they look different? Because everyone's DNA is different. Now everyone has different eye color, hair color, skin color, big ears, little ear, big nose, little nose, freckles, no freckles. And it's all determined from these 4 letters, A, T, G, and C. On number 6, all you're going to do is write down what those letters represent. Letter A stands for adenine. Adenine. Letter T stands for thymine. Thymine. Letter G stands for guanine. And then letter C stands for cytosine. So, quick question. Why do you think they are called the nitrogen bases? If you look at these 4 structures of your nitrogen bases, here's letter A, letter T, letter G, and letter C. Notice they have a letter N in them for nitrogen. Okay, so let me highlight that in yellow. Here's one, here's another one, here's one in this one, here, and here. So because all of your nitrogen bases, A, T, G, and C have the element N for nitrogen, they're called nitrogen bases. So on number 7, why are they called nitrogen bases? Because they contain nitrogen. That's number 7. Hopefully everyone in this class is familiar with the shape of DNA. If you look at these 2 pictures here, or rather 3 pictures, you can see they kind of like there's 2 strands put together to create that DNA. You can kind of see it here, and you can really see it here. Here's one strand, and then here's another strand. So there are 2 strands put together to create this DNA shape. So on number 8, what do we call the combination of 2 strands of DNA together? It is called double-stranded. So on number 8, double-stranded. I mean, it makes sense. Double means 2. Double means 2 because there are 2 strands put together. So these 2 strands spiral around one another to create a shape that scientists call a double helix. On number 9, what do you call the shape that DNA takes? That shape is called a double helix. Number 9. On number 10, what is the name of the outside edges of the DNA double helix? So if you look at this picture here, you have those 2 strands right there spiraling around each other called the double helix. So on the outside of the DNA, Okay, this outside right here that's highlighted in blue for you has the circle in the house. That is called the sugar phosphate backbone. On number 10, the sugar phosphate backbone. Now, why is it called a backbone? Just like our backbone gives us shape and structure, these outside backbones right here are very important. They protect the DNA's crucial information that is found in the middle. These 4 letters, T, A, G, C, A, T. These letters are very important, and the backbone of the DNA protects those letters that code for our information. So, on number 11, what does the sugar phosphate backbone provide? It provides the cell with shape and structure. Shape and structure. Number 11. Number 12. What is found on the inside of the helix? So the nitrogen bases are on the inside of the double helix. This is how the information is coded into the DNA. So in the picture below, you have the nitrogen bases highlighted in blue for you. So on number 12, the answer is nitrogen bases. Number 12, nitrogen bases. So what are so important about these letters? They hold your information. Tells you who you are, why you look the way you look. On number 13, what is the purpose of the nitrogen bases? Gives us our information. Number 13. So the information in DNA is a blueprint for every cell. What a blueprint is, that's like a map. A blueprint is like a map of who you are. Just like there's a map in every single building, it tells you where all the classes are, where to find each class, where the restrooms are, etc. Okay? So on number 14, what is DNA considered? It is considered the blueprint. So number 14, blueprint. Number 14, blueprint. And all of our information, the information is found in this sequence of nitrogen bases. This information is used to make proteins according to a universal genetic code. On number 15, how is the information carried in DNA? It is carried in our sequence of nitrogen bases. Number 15. In the sequence of nitrogen bases. The word sequence means the order of our nitrogen bases. The order of those 4 letters A, T, G, C. Not only does our DNA tell us who we are, that DNA is used to make those proteins inside of our bodies. So number 16, what does DNA have the information for making or synthesizing? And the answer is proteins. So every single cell, either eukaryotic cells, prokaryotic cells, they use the information in DNA to make proteins in the same exact way. Eukaryotic cells, prokaryotic cells, they make proteins in the same way. So the DNA is translated using the genetic code, where a specific sequence of nitrogen bases codes for an amino acid in the protein being made. So let's break it down. Number 17. What is important about the way that every living thing uses DNA to make proteins? They make the proteins in the same way. Make proteins in the same way. It doesn't matter what cell it is, eukaryotic or prokaryotic. They make proteins using DNA in the same way. Number 17. Number 18, cells translate the information in DNA according to what? So whenever your cells makes those proteins, they use the genetic code. So on number 18. Now, I did not write this on your notes, but I want you to, at the very bottom of your notes right now, okay, in that empty space at the bottom, I want you to put a star next to it so that you can see it really nice. All living things use the same genetic code, exclamation mark. I want you to write that down at the bottom of your notes. At the bottom. Write it. All living things use the same genetic code. All living things use the same genetic code, exclamation mark. All living things use the same genetic code. As you can see, I'm repeating it a bunch of times because it is important. All living things use the same genetic code. All living things use the same genetic code. So what does that mean, what I just said? Living things, humans, animals, dogs, cats, tigers, lions, a fly, a fish, a flower, a plant, a bacteria. They're all considered living, okay? So that means because they're all considered living things, they have those 4 letters that code for their DNA. A, T, G, C. So that genetic code, all that means is that it has those 4 letters. A, T, G, and C. All living things use the same genetic code. A, T, G, C. Bacteria, A, T, G, C. They have those 4 letters that make up their DNA. In a fish, they have those 4 letters that make up their DNA. In a dog, they have those 4 letters that make up their DNA. Okay, enough of that. Hopefully you understood that. On number 19, it says, what does each specific 3-letter sequence code for? And it codes for an amino acid. Number 19. Amino acid. So remember in the polymer song, amino acids go together, linked from side to side, to make each kind of protein, also called polypeptides. Okay, so to remember that the genetic code is common to all living things use the same genetic code. You can think of it as a little rhyme, okay? So on number 20 of your notes, you're going to write, from the fish in the sea to the mold on the wall. Mold is a living thing. So on number 20, from the fish in the sea to the mold on the wall. Number 20. From the fish in the sea to the mold on the wall, they use the same genetic code, A, T, G, C. Number 20. So DNA is not found in many little pieces. No. Instead, there are large amounts of DNA that are packaged together into chromosomes. Remember what I told y'all in class. Chromosomes is a fancy word for DNA, okay? So it's DNA that are packaged together called chromosomes. On number 21, what are chromosomes? The answer is large amounts of DNA. Large amounts of DNA is number 21. So in the human cells hold 46 chromosomes that contain thousands of genes. So on number 22, how many genes are found on each chromosome? Thousands. So on number 22, thousands. Alright, so on number 23, what do we call the complete set of DNA? So the complete set of chromosomes with all of an organism's DNA is called It's genome. So on number 23, what do we call the complete set of DNA? Genome. Number 23, genome. Number 24, what is a gene? Genes are the sections of DNA that are used to make proteins in the cell. So on number 24, there's a long definition for that. Sections of DNA used to make proteins. Number 24. So just write down what I have underlined there. Sections of DNA used to make proteins. All right, so here is the fun part. So DNA base pairing. So how does DNA pair with one another? The nitrogen bases between the two strands of DNA pair together in a very specific way. On number 25, you're going to write how they pair up. So the letter A pairs with T, and G pairs with C. So on number 25, you're going to write that down for number 25. A pairs with T, G pairs with C. All right, on number 26, it says, what did Chargaff's experiments uncover that led us to our understanding of base pairing? So yes, I'm supposed to show you a video. I will show you tomorrow, next class, actually. So in that video, pretty much what Chargaff found is that there are the same amount of A's and T's and the same amount of G's and C's, okay? So on number 26, because the letter A pairs with the letter T and the letter C pairs with the letter G, they have the same amount. For example, for A's, if there are 25 A's, how many T's will there be? There will be the same amount because A pairs with T. Okay? Now, if there are, let's say that there are 70 C's, how many G's will there be? There will be the same amount because C pairs with G. Okay? It would be any number. For example, if there are, in the DNA, if there is 1,000 A's, if there's 1,000 A's, how many T's will there be? 1,000, because they pair up together. On another example, if there was 1,000,000 C's, how many G's will be in that DNA? 1,000,000 of them, because they base pair together. They're like a couple. They stay together, okay? So if there's however many A's there are, there's the same amount of T's. However many C's there are, they're the same amount of G's. Get it? Got it? Good. Write that down on number 26. Here, I'll write the answer on the next slide so you can know exactly what to write down. So number 26, there are the same number of A and T's and the same number of G and C. This is because they base pair together. All right, so compare the letters in each pair. How can you remember that these go together? So with A pairs with T and G pairs with C, the letters made with straight lines go together. So notice the letter A and the letter T, they're all straight lines, okay? So A and T go together because they are straight lines, or the letters made with curved lines go together. So notice the letter G is like a curve, and the letter C has a curve. So curved letters go together. Straight letters go together. Okay? So on number 27, you can write straight lines go together and curved lines go together. If you look at the bottom of your note, it says mnemonic for base pairing. You see all the guys care. A, T, G, C. All the guys care. Or you can remember it as all the grilled cheeses. ATGC. Y'all see that? Okay. I know some of my other students, they said, some boy in my class said all the girls cry. And this girl got really mad and said all the guys cheat, which I thought was hilarious. So whichever way you want to memorize it, choose however you want to memorize it, whether that be the straight lines or the curved lines or a saying, a mnemonic. All the guys care, all the grilled cheeses, all the girls cry, all the guys cheat, however you want to memorize that as. Just remember that A pairs with T, G pairs with C. Alright, now that you're done with your notes, go ahead and get started on homework 12. You may listen to your music while you're working on your homework. If you borrowed my headphones, please return my headphones back to me. And then return your iPad back to the cart if you borrowed them as well. And if you have any questions, let me know. But please quietly be working on your homework if tests are still out.